Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So about 3 weeks ago, I put out a video warning new home builders about the plywood and that there was going to be a plywood shortage and that the prices were going to skyrocket. And man, did they ever. Now, in that video, I stated that plywood was selling for $44 a sheet. Today, we're at $55.35 a sheet. Now, for those of you who don't know, I work at a lumber yard. I have my fingers on the pulse of the industry. I do retail sales of building supplies for a living. And I have been tracking lumber future prices, mill closures, bug infestations, wildfires, tariffs, everything that could possibly happen to lumber. I have talked about it inside of a video over the course of the last 3 years, at least like once a week for a couple of years. I've done a lumber update. Now, what we're seeing right now is something that's very interesting because at $55.35 a sheet for half-inch CDX, this is like insane. Like when I tell builders and customers about how CDX is at $55 a sheet, they are just like, they shake their heads. They can't believe it. But then I tell them stuff like in the half-inch ACX, which is a higher grade than the CDX. It's kind of like grades in school, A being the best and D being the worst. CDX has a C side and a D side. ACX has a really nice smooth face to it, so it's kind of like a paint grade. It's like the higher end of construction grade plywood. And normally, like a half-inch ACX would sell for, say, $32 a sheet, when CDX, half-inch CDX would be selling for $22 a sheet. Right now, we have half-inch AC selling for $55.99 a sheet. CDX is $55.35 a sheet. You could sheet your house with half-inch AC and not really cost you that much more. It would cost you literally just a handful of dollars more to use the high-grade ACX plywood with the nice smooth face to it as opposed to the standard sheathing CDX. Now, for those of you who don't know, like sheathing, it's kind of like a skeleton. Like you got the skeleton of the building, that's the 2x4s, and then you got the sheathing that goes on the outside. It's like the skin before all the doors, windows, siding, stuff like that goes in. So it's a critical component to construction. And the sheathing is off the charts. It's super expensive. Like I said, I used to sell this stuff for $18 to $22 a sheet, and today we're at $55.35. Now, I did get some emails from people saying, hey, did you see the lumber prices, like the lumber futures really dropped? What we saw was March 15th contracts close on Monday at $10.40 per thousand. That is going to send a huge ripple through the market. Prices like a 2x4 8, which right now we're selling at $8.75, I would assume is going to get really close to $10 for one 2x4 8 standard and better. One of the most common pieces of lumber you would ever see on a job site or in a lumber yard, typically selling for $2 a piece, is going to be selling close to $10 here real soon. Half-inch CDX is going to come up in very short supply. The resin, the glue that they use to make this stuff is coming up in short supply. And the demand for the new building season is going to pay any price for it. And this is the thing, with the interest rates as low as they are, it doesn't matter how much the plywood sells for. All that matters is that the individual can make the bottom line payment. So plywood could sell for $100 a sheet, $120 a sheet. At that point, it doesn't matter, so long as the person can make the payment. And if the interest rates remain low, then that's what's going to happen. Now, the interest rates are beginning to rise, but they are historically low. And the way the Fed put it, they are still very accommodative. And I do not see how there is going to be any lack of demand, considering that there is so little inventory out there of homes and the prices are as high as they are. I just don't see there's going to be a reversal unless interest rates either go way up or come June and we start seeing the moratoriums for foreclosures and rents end and we start seeing the foreclosures kicking in. If we start seeing foreclosures kicking in, then we're going to start seeing inventories rise. If we start seeing inventories rise, then we're going to start seeing people start to panic that they've bought an expensive home and they're going to start putting it out on the market. And if you start having more increasing of inventory, then you start having people who are buyers start holding off saying, wow, look at the increasing in inventory and look at the prices drop. And it goes from being a seller's market to a buyer's market. and then it starts perpetuating itself. As people start worrying about losing the value of their home, they'll start dropping the prices to sell it at any price they can, and if it goes underwater, then we have a major problem. Now, I don't really foresee that taking place. What I'm assuming is that the Federal Reserve is hoping that the forbearance, which is dropping the amount of people who are on forbearance, what I'm assuming is that they are hoping that the amount of people who are on forbearance will have dropped to a level that will not be terribly impactful on the mortgage market, on the housing market, come that time in June. So anyway, I guess that's all I got for you guys. All right, I babbled on long enough. Uneducated Economist, you guys let me know.